Good morning. How is everybody doing today? Today, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the unit circle. That's what we will be sharing today and learning about the unit circle. The past couple of days, you've been working with the special triangles 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90. You have in your documents this document, the unit circle. Okay? So, what does unit mean? Unit means one. So from your center here, everything, this is your center, the radius is 1. All the way around, everything is going to be 1. So from here, over here, this is 1 unit. Here is 1 unit. Everything is 1 unit. Okay, so let's go from there. So if I'm going out here, if we're talking about the circle, this is 0 degrees. And it's also going to be 0 radians if we were to convert that. What is my coordinate here? I have gone over 1 on the x-axis and up 0 on the y-axis. Let's look up here. This one is another easy one up here. If I were to do degrees, this is 90 degrees. We also call this, if we converted it, pi over 2 radians. What is my coordinates? My coordinate for this, I went 0 on the x-axis and up positive 1 on the y-axis. And you can see how this is going. If we went over here, this is 180 degrees. We saw that the radians is pi radians when we converted this. And what would my coordinates be? -1, 0. And I can continue down here. This is 270 degrees, 3 pi over 2 radians. And I have gone 0, -1 for the coordinates. Now, if I do a full circle, come all the way back up, this is 360 degrees, which is also called 2 pi radians. These are my quadrants between 0 and 90 degrees, my first quadrant, between 90 degrees and 180 degrees, or pi over 2 to pi is my second quadrant, between pi and 3 pi over 2, my third quadrant, between 3 pi over 2 and back up to 2 pi or 360 degrees. And we have labeled all the coordinates there. Now, here's where special triangles come in, okay? From right here, I'm just going to go ahead and label these in my first quadrant. This is going to be 30 degrees. This is going to be 45 degrees. And this is going to be 60 degrees. Now, we converted on Monday, or Tuesday, we converted degrees into radians. 30 degrees is pi over 6. 45 degrees is pi over 4, and 60 degrees is pi over 3. You can do your conversions. One of the easy ways that I remember this, these are my simple ones. 0, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2. Okay? If it's 30 degrees, it has a 6 in the denominator. If it's 60 degrees, it has a 3 in the denominator. They're opposite. And the 45s and the 4s. That's how I remember those. Okay, so I'm going to move this for a minute and we're going to talk about those special angles again. Let's look first at the 45, 45, 90. Okay. So we have the 45, 45, 90. And we know that whatever this one is over here, they're the exact same, okay? And up here, this is going to be x, times the square root of 2. We saw that. We did all this on, this one was Monday that we worked on this one. Okay, so now let's think of our unit circle. If I know pretend like that's 45, 45, 90. Okay, if I know these are 45 degrees, and I know that this right here is 1, my legs are going to be, like up here, to get back to this, I need to divide by the square root of 2. So 1 divided by the square root of 2. Now you know that we can't have a radical in the denominator, so if I multiply the top and bottom, I have the square root of 2 over 2 when I rationalize this. So this one has to be the same, the square root of 2 over 2. What I want to show you here, let's come back over here to our unit circle. Now, if I take a piece of paper, I'm going to take something like this right here, okay? And I know that this right here is 45 degrees. If I were to draw something straight down here, okay, this is my 45 degree angle. Here is my 0, 0, and I'm given that this right here is 1. If the radius is always 1, if the radius is 1, I can figure out what these values are up here, what this coordinate system is, by getting my x values and my y values. So, as we saw on the other paper, I have come over right here on the x-axis, I came over square root of 2 over 2, and I went up on the y-axis, square root of 2 over 2. So right here, what are my coordinates? I have come over square root of 2 over 2, and I went up the square root of 2 over 2. So if you are asked, what are the coordinates here? It is square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. Now, what we need to remember, and this is at the very bottom of your page, is y values are sine and x values are cosine. So if someone asks you, what is the cosine of 45 degrees? Or what is the cosine of pi over 4? You can tell them the square root of 2 over 2. That is the x value. What is the sine of 45 degrees? The sine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. So that goes all the way around. I'm going to show you over here. This is 180 degrees, or pi radians. And what this is, this right here, is 3 pi over 4. Or we can also say this is 135 degrees. Oops, my degrees is already there. Okay? Because if I'm looking at this point, this is my 45 degree angle. Here's my 90 degree angle. If this is 45, that has to be 45. So when I'm doing the coordinates here, okay, and I'm going to look here and do this, this is going to be on the x value. I came over negative square root of 2 over 2, and I went up positive square root of 2 over 2. So if someone asks you, what is the cosine of 3 pi over 4, it is this value right here, negative square root of 2 over 2. What is the sine of 3 pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2? And what you're going to see is we're going to take this and we can go all the way around this unit circle, because each one of these spokes, as we call them, is 1 unit, and we just apply the sine chart to these. So if I were to do 180 plus 45 degrees, this is 225 degrees down here, okay? And if I take the pi and I add pi over 4 to it, this is 5 pi over 4. So down here, what I'm going to get, I have gone over negative square root of 2 over 2, and I've gone down negative square root of 2 over 2. My cosine and my sine value for these. All right, let's move on to the 30, 60, 90. For the 30, 60, 90 triangles, and I'm going to give it to you really quick right here because I don't want this to be too long for you. Here is my 30, 60, 90 triangle. Here's 30 degrees. My unit, my y value up here, or excuse me, my hypotenuse is 1. Across from the 30-degree angle, we saw it's half of that. And across from the 60-degree angle, I take 1/2 and multiply that by the square root of 3. So my coordinates would be the square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. So over here on my 30-degree angle, here's my 30-degree angle down here. This one's my 60, okay? So on the x value, I have come over the square root of 3 over 2, and I've gone up 1/2. Doesn't look like a 2 on yours. Up here, this 60-degree angle, this is 60-degree angles now, this big one down here, and here's my 30-degree angle, so this is my short one. And they're just opposite, 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. I can take those and apply those all the way around this unit circle, all the way around. So right here, this is going to be 120 degrees, okay? And this right here is going to be 150 degrees. All right? So over here, I'm going to have 2 pi over 3. And right here, I'm going to have 5 pi over 6. Now, yes, I've memorized these, but if you see, I pause because I have to think about it. But I just put the chart, okay, right here. This is 60 degrees. Well, here's going to correspond to my 60-degree angle in the second quadrant. So my x value will be negative. So this will be negative 1/2 positive square root of 3 over 2. And here this will be negative square root of 3 over 2 positive 1/2. I want you to continue with these and fill in this chart today. All right. The video has been long and I apologize for that. Remember, all these down through here, this is the sine value will be the y and the cosine value will be the x. Right? So you can use this and you can also tell me what the sine of pi over 6 is. Once you get the sine, cosine, tangent, cosine, secant, and cotangent, once you get your chart filled out over here, here is pi over 6. My sine value is going to be 1/2 the y. My cosine value is going to be square root of 3 over 2. So, and then down here, this chart tells you, and this is just the algebra part of it, if you were going to take the sine value 1/2, and the cosecant is 1 over the sine. So if my sine value is 1/2, that is the sine of pi over 6. Okay, so my cosecant value, oops, trying to get this so you can see it. My cosecant value of pi over 6 is 1 over the sign. When you're dividing by a fraction, you just multiply by the reciprocal. So the sign value is going to be 2, or the cosecant value is going to be 2, because I'm going to take 1 over 1 and multiply that by 2 over 1. I hope this helps. I know you're going to have questions. You can come see me between 10 and 11 or between 2 and 3, and I will help you. Have a great day.